Hello and welcome to Talking About My Generation. My name is Harshmal and I'm coming to you live from New York City. It's been a fun few months of putting together the show with the team here at Founding Fuel. But today's show is our season finale. But let me tell you, we have a cracker of an episode lined up. As our audience comes in, I want to thank all of you for joining me today. Please drop a hello in the comments below and let me know where in the world you're joining from. This show has become such a great way for all of us to connect at a time when, doing just that has been a little challenging. So thanks for joining us. Without revealing too much, I want to give you just a taste of today's episode. We are going to talk about music, but perhaps not in the way you think. My guests today are not musicians, but they will share with you the deep and powerful ways in which music has influenced their lives. Josy Paul is one of the most influential leaders of the advertising industry in India. His son Shlok finds creativity and expression in his scientific pursuits and was part of the team that created the climate clock that's up in Union Square here in New York. They're going to approach the discussion from three aspects. First, how music shaped their growing years. Secondly, music as inspiration and companion, especially, the role it played in their work and career. And finally, I think most relevantly, music in the time of lockdown and social isolation. So let me put up a picture to introduce the Pauls to you. This is Josy, Shlok, and Marie at the Pride Parade in New York last year. So without further ado, Josy and Shlok Paul. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi. Thank you, Harsh.
It's a pleasure to have you here on Talking About My Generation. And I want to give our audience a heads up that this episode of TAMG is going to be a little different. I don't want to ruin the surprise, so I will zip it here and hand it over to Josy and Shlok Paul. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Harsh, and thank you everyone for joining us on a Saturday evening. Lovely to see a lot of friends and people who we'll get to know soon. In this episode, our son Shlok and I discuss how music influences and shapes us, just like it is for all of you. Yeah, we explore what music means to us through an intergenerational lens, and somewhere in our story and confession, actually, we hope you see your journey too. Yeah, let me start by saying that for me, and I'm sure for all of us, music is not just music. It's also the associations that go with it. And I'll explain with a few stories. So in our first section, which is our early musical influences, where we want you to be a part, let's talk about early music influences, yeah? I want to start by a story. My first real introduction to the power of music happened when I stepped into college. I was in St. Xavier's College. I was 15 years old. I walk into college one July morning. And what do I see? I see pamphlets being thrown from the rooftops. Sky is gray because of these pamphlets. People are running on the rooftop. And I saw something I've never seen in my life because I come from a very conservative background. I've never seen protest. And here were people protesting. And what were they singing? They were singing songs like Hum Hoge Kamyab and We Shall Overcome. And for me, it was, what's happening here? This is not the music I grew up on. I grew up on Bollywood. I grew up on Shami Kapoor and all that lovely singing. But here was music with a little more meaning. And I got deeply sort of involved with that group of people. I was yanked out of my Bollywood fantasy and thrown into student life. And that was my early sort of influence. And actually that day, when I was 15, shaped the way I wrote, I created work, everything. Because suddenly for me, the world became a little more important than just the musical aspect. It was music with meaning. And just to add to a little bit of surprise for this session that Harsh spoke about. I'm going to ask my wife, partner, Shlok's mom, Marie Paul, to come and give us a little song on protest music, which I was introduced 2 years ago. And she's somewhere in the hills off Bhopal, and she's going to try and get through from there. Marie, join us, please, and sing me We Shall Overcome, please.
Hi guys, all the way from Pachmari. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Take it away, boys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Marie. That really defined my approach to life. The idea of authority, and the students were fighting authority in college. It was seeking representation in the management committee, and this was a way of doing it through song and music. And that shaped me because I realized the idea of authority was giving way to the authority of ideas. And that transformed me, and music transformed me. And Shlok, what's your early influence with music? We'd love to know that.
Yeah, so as we were preparing for this talk, our family really got together to reflect on, music and its meaning, especially in defining our lives. And I got to learn a lot about my mom, and I'm really grateful for her overcoming what she did. So my mom had a really tough 9 months at the time when I was born, and that would go on to be the subject of one of my TED Talks I'd give when I was 16, was how much blood my mom lost and how she overcame everything by singing. And so one song she would sing was this old gospel song called One Day at a Time. It would give her the energy to go on. And the crazy part that I very recently learned is that when I was born and when she would sing One Day at a Time, say at a show or just when she was practicing, I would start to cry. I would start to tear up. It was almost like I had known what my mom was going through while she was giving birth. And so Dad had a great line. He said, empathy is a mysterious memory structure that music is made of, and that me and Mom are connected by the umbilical cord of songs. And with that, I want Mom to come back and sing that song One Day at a Time.
I'm only human. I'm just a woman. Lord, help me believe in all that I am and all that I do. Show me the stairway I have to climb. Lord, for my sake, teach me to take one day at a time. One day at a time, sweet Jesus, that's all I'm asking of you. Just give me the strength to do every day what I have to do. Whoa, yesterday's gone, sweet Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. Lord, help me today, show me the way, one day at a time. I tear up every time. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Marie. It's deep. So you know what? Thank you for all the support and the beautiful comments you guys are giving us. It really gives us strength. We have a question. We want to change the sound a bit, and the question is for all of you: what's your favorite love song, right? What's your most favorite love song? All of us have something we carry with us in our hearts, right? And when that song comes up in Hindi or English, Marathi, Malayalam, whatever the language we've grown up with, or the language we love, or the language that's part of us, if we could just share that with us, it'll be amazing. And as we're speaking about it, and as we're sharing, I want to, talking about love songs, I want to just tell you about something that happened when I first met my wife Marie. I met my wife Marie in Bangalore, and we had gone out to a coffee shop. It was in Taj West End. It's quite a lush place, and there was a small bridge in that place. It was in the middle of this garden, and it's like one of those studio type bridges. And we stood on the bridge and we were chatting, and suddenly it began to drizzle. Now, I mean, something about the rain that really gets me, because there's music in that as well. And it was evening, and Mari began to sing. Suddenly she broke into song, and the song was from the movie Sound of Music. I must have done something good. That's what she began to sing. Yeah, it was so spontaneous, and man, you know how Mari is. She's so amazing as a singer. I was stunned, and with that heady aroma of wet earth, I just knew something had happened. It's like when Amitabh Bachchan said, "Na, ting tong, that whole sound of some bell which tells you this feels right." And the music helped me decide, and as did the rain. And eventually, Mari and I got married. So as you're writing about the love songs you like, I'd ask Mari to come and sing the song she sang.
I must have had a wicked childhood. I must have had a miserable youth. But somewhere in that wicked, miserable youth, there must have been a moment of truth. For there you are, standing there, loving me, whether or not you should. For somewhere in my youth, oh childhood, I must have done something good. 'Cause nothing comes from nothing, nothing ever could. For somewhere in my youth, oh childhood, I must have done something good. I must have done something good.
Yeah. I mean, you can fall in love over and over again when these things happen. And when I look at all the songs that are coming up on the comments, I just wish we could make this playbook, Indrajit, Anmol, just this, of all the songs that all of us have put together. Imagine it's the sound of, TAMG. Amazing. And thank you. Thank you for those comments and for the songs. We now go to our next section, right? The first one is about early influence. And now we'll go into music as inspiration and companionship and how it helps us at work. And it's everyone's story. It's not just ours, And here I'd like Shlok to tell us some of his personal stories of inspiration and how it helped him at work, especially the climate clock.
Yeah. So when I first came to college, I had selected to be a chemical engineer, and in our first class, they build us up to the dream of the ideal chemical engineer out there working in some oil refinery. They sell you on the idea of having one of the best salaries in the world, and I hopped on that train for 2 years. I was happily brainwashed until one day, just like the Greek gods had destinies for the Greek heroes, the YouTube gods showed me this video. I was not ready for it. It's a piece called The Elegy for the Arctic by a composer called Ludovico Einaudi. And it's It's something everyone has to see. So it's, as you picture by his name, it's this very old Italian man, and he's sitting on an iceberg that's floating in the Arctic with a massive Steinway piano, playing this piece he's composed as he's crying for the earth. And in the backdrop of every note, you can see a massive glacier just colliding down into the ocean. That really affected me, and I don't know why YouTube showed it to me, because I don't listen to classical music. But it did, and so inspired by that, I decided to join these two activists, Gan Golan and Andrew Boyd, to kind of build awareness about climate change. And so we went about doing it by building this gigantic clock on Union Square in New York. And the clock counts down in years, months, days, and seconds, the amount of time we have left before climate change becomes irreversible, before it reaches this so-called 1.5 degrees Celsius point of no return. So that was how, that was one way in which music impacted my decision making in college. I want to quickly bring Mom on to sing a song about the earth that she finds dear to herself.
So I chose the song from Pocahontas. You think you own, you think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you learn things you never knew, you never knew. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Thank you.
Wow. We fall in love with Earth again. Shlok has more to share, which is different from how I work. But Shlok, you want to tell us a story about the 45-minute track that you hear, which you helped create your nanoparticles?
Yeah, so we want to keep the theme on how music is inspiring and how it helps us in our career. And for me, I used to work in a nanoparticle lab where we would synthesize these magnetic nanoparticles and watch them self-assemble. What structures do they form on Earth and on the space station? We send it up to the ISS and we watch them self-assemble in zero gravity. But as I used to make these, it's a very boring, repetitive task. It takes about 45 minutes. And so I would always have this one song on, which was perfect because it was 45 minutes long. And it's written by this guy, John Luther Adams, who won the Pulitzer Prize for it. It's called Become Ocean. And he composed it after spending like years in Alaska, just listening to the waves as he reflected about how life started from the ocean and how at the end of climate change, we might all end up in the ocean. For me, the songs, it's just perfect because like a chef who knows by the sizzle of the steak when the steak is ready, I used to know by the notes in the song what step of my reaction I was on. And so that became my mantra during work. It was very mellow. It was this classical piece with the sound of whales in the background. I'm really curious to know what Dad's mantra is because I believe it's a lot more protest driven.
Yeah. Firstly, I've got to thank Indrajit and Anmol and Harsh for bringing us together. There is so much that this has done for us as a family. We've realized so much about each other, which we never knew. It's like a form of therapy, actually. It's, I told Indrajit he's got to charge us for this. He's like a therapist. And music is therapy. It's interesting how we are so same, which I never realized, and yet we are different by our music. For me, my early influence never left me. Bob Dylan and Pink Floyd spoke to me more than anyone else. They helped me discover my creative side. Actually, they were my creative directors. They were like Dronacharya to me. They never realized that there was a student who was trying to, lead from their own teachings and examples. When I heard David Gilmour sing Us and Them years ago when I was in college, something in me stirred. And these are, he sang the words that Roger Waters wrote. This particular statement where he said, "Haven't you heard? It's a battle of words," the poster bearer cried. "Listen, son," said the man with a gun. "There's room for you inside." And it's from Dark Side of the Moon. I was so impacted by these words that I left my sporting interests. I used to play football for the college, and I began to write. And I started writing posters saying that I'm going to write for the future. And my search for meaning began here with this music that was questioning the status quo, seeking change. And it fueled me to find my own purpose. And like many of you, John Lennon was one of them. His idealism became a part of me. And so, I asked Mari to sing Imagine for all of us.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only skies. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. I wish.
Yes, we all want this. And just to build on the song and the idealism and where this was taking us, I remember my first album, LP, which I bought with my own first salary. It was The Dark Side of the Moon, and the album cover was fascinating. And all of us know that. It's still a poster in every teenager's room. The stark spectrum of rainbow colors emerging from the central prism. It just blew my mind. Hypnotic. I picked up the album in a trance just because of the image. I remember staring at it for hours, and my sister's also writing, saying you kept making us see it. That LP made me look at the world of visuals, imagery, photography. Music was no longer sound. It was the things you saw in your head, and I let that play within me. We all have our stories of these things, and now's a good time to see how Shlok's different in the way he looks at his background sound. Shlok.
Yeah, so one thing that was huge for me, especially this quarantine, as we will talk about in the next section, was listening to lo-fi music. I see a lot of my friends here. They might relate to this, they might not. I do have some quirks. And the older generation might find this a bit strange. But there was this YouTube sensation called the Chilled Cow Lo-Fi Girl. For anyone who is not familiar with it, essentially it's a YouTube channel that plays lo-fi music, which is basically very calm, melodic beats that you can focus to 24/7, with this animated girl in the background, and she's got her headphones on, she's studying, and in the backdrop you can see like a city with like, it's either day or night depending on where you are. And the whole idea is that she's just there listening to music, studying as you are sitting yourself and studying. And so there's this shared companionship between you, her, and the entire audience around the world that's in the comment section, listening to the same music, studying at the same time as you. That was my go-to ritual when I study during quarantine. I think Dad has a concoction of a ritual, which I think you guys would love to hear him talk about.
Yeah, so these are all, I think all of us have our own sort of starting block, right? And for us, starting blocks that push us, the trigger, is so important for the morning as a ritual. I have a ritual before every big presentation that's important, including this one, because all of you are here. I psych myself with 3 songs that I play one after the other, like a concoction. It's like a mantra mix. And the combination is I start with Shine On You Crazy Diamond. I go on to Scarborough Fair by Simon and Garfunkel. And then I come to Mountain Hare Krishna by Krishna Das. Yeah, amazing singer. You know of him, the spiritual guru. And he's done this number where he mixes Mountain Hare Krishna and with Amazing Grace. And Sting is singing alongside him. This concoction, this combination is lethal. I storm into sessions, global, Indian, wherever, classrooms, and with so much excited energy. I never understand. I can't understand why it works, but it works. It's something, and that's music. And we'd love Murray to sing Amazing Grace.
This is my one-time all favorite. Amazing grace, how sweet, yes, Lord, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Oh, you know what? As amazing as the singing is, the comments, and there's so many beautiful comments, and I wish we could answer each of them because they're so touching and moving, and you want to respond, including wishing Charles's happy birthday today. And thank you for that. Thank you for your comments. And again, these comments can be like a book itself, which is like chicken soup for, the lockdown soul. And talking about lockdown and talking about social isolation, what was your music during the months of lockdown? I'm sure all of us in those 3 or 4 months where we were really fully locked down, we had our music, right? What was your music during the months of lockdown? So that'd be interesting. There was love songs and now lockdown music songs or social distancing songs. And this section is really about that. And that's our last section. I know we're going a little beyond time. Please stop us the moment you say this is enough. We've got it. But there's one small section, which is the lockdown section. And during the lockdown, I must share my story first. I spent 3 months just walking round and round on our small terrace. We have a small terrace outside my study. And each day I used to choose a theme from my past and play the songs that fit the theme. It's just my way of dealing with the lockdown. That if I could DJ a set of songs for that day, it would make me feel better. It was like a walk back, a flashback. All the things in my life associated with the music would walk with me. So I was never alone. It was all of it with me. I was like a DJ walking on memory lane. And music gave me hope and power. And I believe the only way to fight our COVID blues is with our inner rock and roll, right? And all of us are doing it in our own way. I'd love to know what was Shlok's inner rock and roll, and if he could share that. And maybe it's not rock and roll, maybe it's rap.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up the terrace. I think a lot of people in the comment section have either been to or know the terrace. I see a lot of my friends here, Adyot, Raj, Yash. They've all definitely been to the terrace, and they were huge influences in my musical upbringing because we used to go to this. We have really a lovely terrace. We used to go there. We used to listen to music on hours. And how I dealt with the quarantine was thanks to Adyot, who introduced me to an artist called Kendrick Lamar. And so I started to listen to a lot of rap. So he raps about how he grew up in Compton in Los Angeles, America, a very tough part of America, and how he overcame, I guess, the destiny of his life to kind of become who he is today, which is this sensation. And for me, dealing with quarantine just like that, as he was walking around, came through the form of just kinetics. I had to go back to listen to the music that reminded me of being with other people. So EDM, trance, rap, just attending all these concerts. And how I got moving was I started cycling religiously, aggressively. A lot of my friends here know that, like, out of the blue, I started talking about the Tour de France. For 22 years, I didn't care about the Tour de France, and now all of a sudden he's talking about the Tour de France. So yeah, I would put on a song that matched my cadence, and then I just go for it. And one really interesting experience I had was when I was cycling around Central Park. I was listening again to Kendrick Lamar's Money Trees, and I noticed that the song was getting louder and louder, and I thought it was a glitch with my iPhone, but it wasn't. I realized that there was a group in the park that was just blasting the song, and I'm sure there were a lot of people that didn't appreciate it. There were some that were casually listening, and I was one of those people. And it was really interesting for me because it was 4 months into the quarantine, after this very strong lockdown of isolation, that I got to share this musical experience with someone else, listening to the same song, almost like being at a concert, but it was this pseudo collective outdoor listening session. And I'm not surprised at all that these events are popping up in New York, where people just play loud music. They don't care. They just want other people to kind of listen with them. And we kind of see this all across the world happening right now. In my neighborhood, there are people who play the trumpet at like 7 p.m. and then people who like stand outside the building to attend it. That's how music is kind of just bringing people together, even though you're not allowed to be there in person. Last thing, I really want to bring up Kendrick Lamar again, because he did something for me that I never learned in India, and I have to thank Adiyot and all again for that. He really taught me. In India, you never really learn about racial oppression. You never really learn about, at least I, from my privileged background, never got to experience any of these things. And listening to his lyrics and listening to his words and reflecting on them, it kind of showed me how, one, lucky I was, but two, how powerful he is to use his words to change his neighborhood. And one line I want to read from one of his songs, Sing For Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, is which I've kind of accepted as my mantra, is look at the weak and cry. Pray one day that you'll be strong, fighting for your rights, even when they know you're wrong. And hope that at least one of you sing about me when I'm gone. Am I worth it? Did I put enough work in? With that, I want Mom to come on and sing another song like Kendrick Lamar's that really inspired us, by Bob Dylan.
How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, he's blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. And how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Yeah, the answer's blowing in the wind. The comments are blowing my mind. It's just amazing how you guys are for us. Thank you so much. And this really is all we have to share at this point. And I think your comments are making us think a lot more about who we are, what we are, and our associations with music, just as this conversation has been for you. So we come to the end of our section here, and we'd like you to, get involved. We'll, I think, leave it to Harsh to help us at this point.
That was truly magical, you know. And music is something that is so personal. So I want to thank all three of you for letting us in. Making us feel like a part of such a wonderful musical family. And incidentally, you only need to look at the torrent of comments coming in to see how your discussion and especially Marie's voice has
Thank you.
inspired our audience today. So I'll just take up a couple of questions. Marie, I'll come to you first. I mean, we've heard from the boys, but I would love to hear who your musical influences are. You know, can you share one or two with us?
I think for me, gospel, jazz. For me, Barbara Streisand, Mahalia Jackson. Oh my Lord, Mahalia Jackson. Oh my God, why am I? I think music just uplifts the soul. That's all I can say.
I couldn't agree more. And of course, that the emotional power that it has, it's such a universal thing. And I think that is why our audience is, really engaged today, because everyone empathizes with this on such a deep and personal level. Josy and Shlok, question for both of you. Josy, I'll come to you first. So you've talked about the music that you listen to at different stages in your life, how it inspired you. So today, I just want to know, where do you listen to music? Where do you discover new music? Is there a particular channel or an app, something that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Harsh. I chanced upon this radio channel called Paradise, Radio Paradise. Radio Paradise is run by somebody in California who just loves music. And it's very eclectic because he mixes anything and everything. It was like once we had world music, I think, on one of those famous channels long ago. It's like world music, but it mixes any language. So you have to just sit with an open mind, and suddenly you'll hear what's familiar, unfamiliar, and completely different. So it flexes your musical mind in a way.
Shlok, what about you? I know you mentioned YouTube, but are there any others?
Yeah, for me, YouTube has not been a source of reliable music that I like. For me, I really get the good stuff from a lot of my friends. So we have this massive channel on this app called Discord. It's basically like WhatsApp, but you can just jump in and talk to whoever you want. And every day someone will share like a new song, something that's slightly outside my realm, but because they're my friends, we all kind of listen and mingle to approximately the same kind of music. And that's been my source of music. Yeah.
So Shlok, Shravan wants to know, your dad talked about the songs that he uses to psych himself up. What about you? Are there any playlists or songs that you have to get in the zone?
Yeah, I mean, if I really want to get into the zone, it's a lot of heavy metal and rock. I know you're a huge rock fan. For me, System of a Down does it. It's this heavy metal band. They really get me amped up for anything I have to do. And Kendrick Lamar. I listen to Kendrick Lamar and a trance track every morning when I wake up. There's a song called "The Heart Part 2" by Kendrick Lamar, and it's off the charts. It'll wake you up. It'll make you not hit the snooze button.
Probably does the job better than coffee. Murray, same question for you. Is there, of course, you have your musical influences, but sometimes when you really want to get revved up, get in the zone, maybe before a performance, is there something that is your go-to?
I say a quick prayer and I call on the universe. I've had some experiences where, while I'm singing, I kind of just go into some sort of a deep space. And I found sometimes a certain divinity, and I believe it's very spiritual for me. Music is very spiritual. But before I forget, I have to tell you, I mean, my friends are fabulous. We've come out here to the wildlife sanctuary, and they've all uh, been my backstage. Here they are. They're also, one is standing with the camera, one is standing with the light,
Oh,
and
wow.
they all have their drinks in their hands, and we are going to raise a toast to we want to raise a toast to to not to the Pauls, but to you all for having given us this opportunity. Yeah, so cheers.
Yes.
Josy, we're
Cheers
missing
to
you.
that.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you from me, from the team here at Founding Fuel, to all three of you, Josy, Shlok, and Marie. I couldn't have asked for a better way to wrap up our season. And
Yeah.
the comments are still coming in. There's still more requests. So I mean, I'm going to say a few words just to wrap up this season of Founding Fuel. So I'll let the Pauls go. But Marie, please stick around backstage, because I think we're going to have a little encore from you that we leave our audience with, which they will really enjoy. But Josy,
Thank you.
Shlok, thank you so much for a wonderful discussion.
Wonderful comments.
you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Earlier this year, I was in my local Costco supermarket. I was wearing 2 masks and gloves, and taking all the precautions. But as is my habit, when I'm in a store as a marketer, I'm in the habit of watching other people shop, rather than focusing on filling up my own shopping cart. And I noticed some changes in the way people were behaving differently during the pandemic. I wrote about this, shared my observations with my father, Damodar Mal, who is a retailer, and that discussion became the launching pad for this show, Talking About My Generation. The team at Founding Fuel took my little nugget of consumer behavior observation and turned it into the show that all of you have been enjoying over the last few months. It's been an absolute joy putting together each episode with such a diverse, talented, reputable series of guests. At a time of so much turmoil, we wanted to look at change, but from a point of view of those familiar dining table debates that all of us are so familiar with. So this is my thank you to all of you in the audience, and of course, each of our guests, the Jodis who would join me on each show, without whom this would not be possible. So these are the Jodis that contributed to Talking About My Generation. It started with me and my father, Damodar Mal, and Pallavi and Santosh Desai, Vijay and Shravan Bhatt, Shaumik and Amrita Chaudhary, Ria and Deepa Soman, Sanjeev and Rachita Kapoor, Harsh and Shiv Chawla, Partha and Atreya Sinha, Sangeeta Mal and Sakshi Katyar, Rag and Kiran Sethi, and of course, the superb guests of today's show, Josy and Shlok Paul. I want to give a shout out to IG, Anmol, and the entire team at Founding Fuel, who put in so much work to bring the show alive, and in the process, honestly, connect all of us together. The technology just lays the landscape, as I say, but you need smart people to use it creatively, and that's exactly what the team at Founding Fuel has done. All the episodes are available online. The columns and audiograms that run with each episode on each topic are also available on the Founding Field website. Please check them out and share your feedback with us. If you have ideas, your own thoughts, any little comment adds to the discussion. We want to keep this community going and the discussion alive as well. So you know what, I'm going to shut up for now, and as would be appropriate for this show, I'll leave you with a musical farewell. So please welcome back Marie Paul. Marie, encore.
Thank you. So please join me in singing this beautiful one. We're not going to let y'all go. Y'all are going to come back next year. And for that, we'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing the song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Cheers!
Oh, that was beautiful. So cheers, Marie. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. We will indeed meet again. And Talking About My Generation will be back in the new year. In the meantime, take care, stay safe, and goodbye for now. Thank you, everyone.